He raised the sword. He said the words. And the world watched the most iconic transformation of the 1980s. For anyone who grew up watching He-Man, hearing "by the power of Grayskull" is unforgettable. But there's one detail about that transformation that almost nobody knows. How did He-Man really become Prince Adam again? The original stories tell a very different version from the cartoon, and it might completely change the way you see this hero. The answer starts in the mini-comic He-Man and the Power Sword, packaged inside the action figure boxes back in 1982. In that original version, He-Man has no explained past. He simply exists. The very first page shows him leaving his tribe behind with no origin story. He is already the greatest warrior of the tribe, and that is enough. Alone on the cliffs, he hears a cry for help and finds a huge creature attacking a green-skinned woman. He leaps off the cliff and takes on the beast with his bare hands, while she fights back with magic blasts that barely scratch it. She is a sorceress, He-Man thinks, the first time that word appears in the story. Once the creature is defeated, the sorceress tells him his strength marks him as the hero destined to inherit the treasures she has guarded for centuries. And it is right there, in the ruins, that she hands him the gear that would make him the guardian of Grayskull. There was no hidden prince, no secret identity. The dual identity was not born until months later, in issue 47 of DC Comics Presents, a crossover between He-Man and Superman. And this is where the story gets interesting. In this version, Adam is not the careful prince television would later build. He is a reckless young man, known around the taverns of Eternia for drinking and picking fights, wandering the back alleys with his cowardly tiger, Cringer, as his only company. A prince nobody took seriously, not even his own father. But there was something strange about this Adam, and it shows up in two very different moments. In the first, during a routine training session with Man-at-Arms, Adam bends the workout equipment with his bare hands like it is made of cardboard. His own teacher reacts with alarm and compares him to an uncontrolled savage. Nobody asked for that display. It just happened. In the second moment, everything changes. In a tavern brawl against a bully, this same Adam, who had just bent an iron machine with his bare hands, gets thrown against a wall and nearly loses the fight. Cornered, all Adam can manage to say is that at least he would die fighting like a man. In other words, that superhuman strength shows up when nobody is watching and when nothing real is at stake. But the moment it actually matters, against a flesh and blood opponent, it simply does not respond. It is as if the power was already inside him, waiting to be released, not created from nothing, just unlocked. And that is what changes everything when he finally transforms. To become He-Man, this original Adam did not shout a phrase alone in an empty room. He would walk into a cave called the Cavern of Power, and inside it, the sorceress would transform him. It was not Adam controlling his own power. It was someone else granting that power to him. Think about what that means. In the cartoon most of us grew up watching, the transformation is an act of will. Adam raises the sword, says the words, and the power answers him, as if it were always available. But in the first comic book version, the power did not belong to Adam. It belonged to the sorceress. He was only ever borrowing it. And if the power was borrowed to become He-Man, what happened when it came time to give it back? In the comics, that part is never shown clearly. There is no scene of Adam standing alone, saying a magic phrase and turning back to normal. The reversal is tied to the same ritual, dependent on the same sorceress, inside the same cave. In other words, Adam never controlled his own transformation in either direction. This is a detail that Filmation, a year later, decided to simplify, and not by accident. A TV hero needed to be simple to understand. A prince who depends on a sorceress to undo his own transformation is a vulnerable hero. Mattel needed a kid to see a prince become all-powerful on his own through a personal act of will. not a prince at the mercy of a ritual he could not even control. In the cartoon, the way out became easy. Adam raises the sword and says, "Let the power return," and turns back into the prince, alone, with no help from anyone. But the cartoon itself, in at least one episode, let it slip that this simplicity was a lie. In the episode The Problem with Power, He-Man believes he caused the death of an innocent man during a fight. Overwhelmed with guilt, he climbs up to Castle Grayskull under the moonlight, alone, with no celebration, none of his usual lightness. He does not give back the power like someone finishing a routine task. He gives it back like someone punishing himself. He says the words, but instead of putting the sword away with pride, he throws it into the abyss right after, a gesture of rejection, not a heroic choice, as if he wanted to get rid of what he was carrying, not just return it. In other words, even when Filmation finally showed the reversal on screen, it did not come as a free act of will. It came as a collapse of guilt, the hero judging himself unworthy of his own power. This moment reinforces that idea. Comic book and TV are pointing in the same direction. In no version does Adam freely control becoming He-Man or stopping being him. In Filmation's 1983 character guide, written before the cartoon even premiered, there is a description of a transformation different from anything television later showed. In it, Adam strikes his sword against a stone, as if forcing a reaction, as if the power resisted before agreeing to come out. Putting the three pieces together, the cavern of power controlled by the sorceress, the sword thrown into the abyss out of guilt, and the sword striking the stone as if resisting, a question comes up that the cartoon never let its audience ask: who was really in control? An owner decides when to use his strength. A carrier only holds what someone else allows him to hold. For 40 years, most fans only knew the version Filmation presented. But in the earliest comic book stories, some details suggest Adam may never have fully controlled when he received or gave back that power. That completely changes the way we see the character. Because if the power was never entirely in Adam's hands, did he really choose to be He-Man? Or was he simply chosen to carry a power that one day could also be taken away? If this video changed the way you see He-Man, share it with another fan who grew up watching this cartoon. And subscribe to the channel, because the next video is going to reveal a secret about another classic character that could change everything you thought you knew about him. Until then,